For more, we turn to former U.S. diplomat Jim Jatras. Thanks for joining us, Jim. We've talked about this, and I have to tell you, were you shocked yesterday when you heard that the president was going to use his second veto in his administration in this regards?
I was certainly not happy with it, but I was, sadly to say, Scotty, I was not shocked that, unfortunately, this has become his pattern increasingly, where he dances to the tune of the deep state, and in this case to the Saudis, who seem to have an awful lot of undue influence on our foreign policy.
Well, now the president is claiming that this act that the Congress passed was an unnecessary and dangerous attempt to weaken his constitutional authority. But is that really accurate? There
is a kernel of truth in the sense that the thing was, I think, almost designed to produce that reaction because it actually prohibited him from activities there rather than shooting with real bullets if you're Congress, which is to cut off funds. They didn't cut off funds in this thing, so I think they wanted it right. Look, this was designed as a political ploy for him to veto it.
And he fell for it.
And he fell for it, for his veto to be sustained. And it's sort of having their cake and eat it too for the Democrats, because they actually don't end up crossing Saudi Arabia while Trump does their dirty work for them.
Well, that's interesting, because I do say, is this just another confirmation? There has been a lot of backlash on the relationship between Saudi Arabia and President Trump. Is this just another confirmation of the power that Saudi Arabia has over this president and the administration?
I think it is. And I think there's another interesting little twist here, too, is how this thing passed in the first place, given how close the Israelis and the Saudis are. In other words, I don't think this would have passed at all if AIPAC and the other Israeli influence hadn't said, sure, go ahead and let this thing go forward. We're not taking a position on it. Let it pass. Let the Saudis take the bullet here in upholding the president's veto, which will happen, and they can stand with their vestments still angelically pure.
You know, I just have to remember last week the president tweeted and got a lot of backlash for he tweeted out a video that says, we will not forget, or we don't forget. And this was about Representative Ilhan Omar and the comments that she made, kind of dismissive comments about 9/11. We will not forget. Remind me again, who was behind 9/11? What country were those nationalists from? And why are we still allies with Saudi Arabia if that fighting terrorism is continuing to be our #1 priority on foreign policy?
I'm sad to say, Scotty, I think it boils down to money, that they spend an awful lot. I mean, remember, the Saudis are I think the third largest military budget in the world, before the Russians even. And they buy most of that equipment from us. This is a form of influence peddling, and that buys you a lot of credit with those guys on Capitol Hill, as well as in the administration. So you have this bureaucratic phalanx that will carry water for the Saudis, plus they lobby the stuffing out of this town. They have a lot of influence. And look, we don't need energy from the Persian Gulf anymore. Forget the Iranians, the Saudis are the #1 sponsor of terrorism. This makes no sense in terms of American interests, but here you have it.
Well, I've not heard very much defense, but the few arguments that I've heard that have tried to defend the president's veto say, well, he's just trying to continue to prop up the economy, that economically this was a good decision. Boeing's taking a hit, therefore we don't need to worry about gas prices going through the roof, and so making this happen, he's doing this so that the Saudis can continue to buy military equipment from us to keep the economy going. That to you sounds like...
You know, in terms of his own calculations, is he thinking that way? Maybe there's an element to that where he's saying, hey, look, this is jobs for the Rust Belt. So what if we're helping the Saudis slaughter innocent people in some other country? Who cares about that?
Okay, so the funding for this actually started underneath the Obama administration. Yes. But doesn't Congress, including the Republicans and the Democrats, hold a little bit of this water, because this has been going on for years and they've never actually taken it out of the budget before?
Sure, that's right. And as we pointed out, they didn't cut off money for it. Right. They tried to do it through a prohibition of the activities themselves. And there is a real constitutional issue there with Congress.
Who declares?
Exactly right. But given the partisan vote here, I think this was essentially a Democratic ploy to get the president to do something boneheaded, and of course he obliged.
Okay, so that being said, does Congress have the right, are going to have the votes to override his veto on this?
No, not at all. It's
and
not
do you think
close.
there'll even be a stay of it?
I'm not even sure there will be a veto override vote.
Well, this will definitely show that the administration possibly has stronger ties to the Saudis, and that will definitely come under question in the next 2 years.
It's sad, Scotty.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.